What has been done by the EACC to ensure that graft becomes a thing of the past? What is Parliament doing? EACC has come under a lot of attack from some section of members of Parliament. To an extent there's been a lot of EACC officials stepping out of office due to a fact that Kenyans and some leaders saying that EACC is not doing much. This is a conversation we want to start right now on a social media platform at KBC Channel 1, my Twitter handle at @ZaDaBrenda. SMS line as usual on the top left of your screen, 22162. Let's begin our conversation. I will start with you, Commissioner. EACC, where can you rate yourself in a scale of 1 to 10?
Good morning, viewers. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I sincerely appreciate. Kindly, just before I start answering or responding to that, I would like to bring the focus to today. Actually, is the African Anti-Corruption Day. As you are aware, this year, the African Union has declared 2018 as the African Anti-Corruption Year. And the purpose is really to bring up the citizens, and if I may allow me to read the theme, winning fight against corruption, a sustainable path to the African transformation. This is where we are here today, and I think the discussion is quite opportune for us as we mark the African International Anti-Corruption Year, and today as the African Anti-Corruption Day. I think this is very, very important. Sometimes it is difficult, really, they say no finger says me except you. It's difficult to go, but let me be very, very much objective. As a commissioner who has been there in the commission for the last 2.5 years, nearly 3 years now, I think I could really rate with all the other challenges and all the rest, EACC's performance 60% and plus. That's 60% plus as the person in charge, as the person in the process. But that's my view, and it's from the data and the other things which I have. It might be higher, it might be low for other people's perception, but that is where we are at the moment, to my own assessment, despite the various challenges, which I hope we'll discuss when we go through, and also justify why I say that. Okay,
60%, that is your rating.
Yes.
Honorable Wanyonyi, do you agree with that? 60% looks quite high. It's more than half.
Yeah, it is actually above average if you look at it critically. But I believe that if we centralize our fight against corruption at EACC alone, then we will never win. Because I believe it should be at all sectors of government, at all agencies, at everywhere, any sector that we are dealing with public issues, and even at the private sector. Because sometimes we focus too much on public, and some of the corruption is propagated at private sector because they are engaged the government, and some of the people who engage government officials, they want to take shortcuts, they want to cut corners, and even our international partners, they come in with the same mentality. And at that level, I believe that if we are looking at corruption at, for example, the Department of Immigration, that is the point of entry in this country, and that's where we are seeing things happening. EACC alone is an agency to, I think, to direct the fight against corruption, but it should not be the only agency to
So you agree that 60% is okay?
I don't believe that maybe somebody else can rate them, because...
But how can you rate them as a representative?
I rate them that they are trying, but I don't think I can give them that much. I can say maybe they're at 40.
At 40?
Yes.
So 60, EACC says that 60, you say that 40. Karl Marx?
Yes. Thank you so much, Brenda. First of all, I think rating EACC, we don't even need a figure to rate, because there is nothing much actually happening within the EACC as a body. Because first of all, Kenyans, we need to understand what are the roles of the EACC and what mandates are they to play within the gallery of Kenyans. One, it's preventing corruption. And two, it's about investigating the allegations of corruption and the criminal and the economic crimes. Three, they are supposed to be actually educating the public. And the fourth one is about the asset recovery. Now, if all these we are talking about, none you could talk of as is actually now happening in a systematic way that we can follow up into the EACC. And the most important and the most worrying trend is that even the EACC itself as a body, their officers are actually accused of bribery.
We'll get there.
We
will get there, Karl Marx. Just hold your horses, we'll get there. So, do you agree with what Commissioner Maalim has said, that it's 60%?
It's not 60%. In fact, the
what
maximum,
is your rating?
The maximum we can give them is 20%.
So 60, 40, 20.
120.
That is, you're saying it's 120.
Divide by average.
Divide by average, it's 120. A lot of accusations at the EACC. Why would you rate yourself at 60?
Yeah, you see, I mentioned earlier, sometimes it might be not very easy for somebody to. Why I rate that, I am at the middle of what is happening. And with all due respect, sometimes we feel a little bit quite unhappy when you find very hardworking officers, very hardworking. People come into job, at 5 they are there, they stay in the office until 9 p.m., but the only solution, what you call solace you get from the public, they're doing nothing.
But you see, Commissioner,
and I will prove you by the data I have to quench Mr. Karl Marx, what you call thirst. So we actually speak from a point of evidence, not hearsay. I can really, what you call, bombard myself with a lot of pompous statements, and I'm doing this and that. But I will prove to you, if you give me time, what we have achieved the last few years. What are the challenges? What with Karl Marx very honestly said are some of the issues. Already he's already enumerated our tasks, but we already do it. And I sincerely want to thank Mheshimiwa. The fight against corruption is not an EAC only, and that is why people, including Karl Marx, the corruption will be fought by EACC alone. No, from the public. What do you? And I'll prove to you some of the challenges and some of the successes. But for me, I think it might be, you see, my figure is not very far from Honorable's. But
it's a difference.
It's a difference
of 20.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but before you give us, we'll get into your facts of what you have to tell Kenyans this morning. But when you say that officials of the EACC get to the office by 5 and they leave the office at 9, it is not a matter of the reporting hour to work and the exit. You know, the time you're leaving the office. It is within these hours that you reported to what has the EACC officials done.
Exactly. Now, do you want me to give you the figures that we have? Now, why are they there? You know, the point which we really need to allow me to refer back to the figures. The fact that you are at the place of work at 5 a.m. when you would have actually seen your children go out. The fact that you are leaving office at 9 p.m. when you find all your children out. Sincerely, you are not going to slumber at the office. It is the tedious work involved in the issue about investigation, so that at least you come with something which is watertight. And this is really what people are not actually taking. See, doing an investigation on corruption is not peeling a mango for your meal. It is something which is more. I have really to take care of Mheshimiwa's respect and dignity. So the time I say Mheshimiwa or Mr. Karl Marx or anybody else is corrupt, sincerely I must have evidence. And that is why we really take pains over and above the time which is stipulated for us to work. That's why we are. Of course, I will mention some of the challenges which also makes our numbers that really need to work, and I will come to that. But let me give you the figures that we have, so that at least we can be able to. And kindly, I refer the public to just peruse our website and then look at our annual report which we have given. Even recently, we have actually given to the parliament and other things our status for the last 5 years, which actually we had, and we will also confirm that with the parliament the next, which have invited us in the next few days. That's our statement. Let me tell you, we have cases that we investigate, and the cases that actually has been coming on and over is actually, if you look at the numbers that we have. For instance, in the last Nairobi has the highest, of course, corruption cases, because Nairobi is a city, followed by maybe if you look at the numbers, Kisumu and Mombasa, these are urban areas, and of course you would expect. But let me come to what this brother said that about assets. Just for 2017, 2018 alone, we have recovered assets of 13 million, recovery cash. land immovable properties, 242,000. 2017, 2018, what you're talking about. Values of assets preserved, yeah, 1.4 nearly billion. Approximate value of loss averted through intelligence. That's why our officers are in the place.
Okay.
6.2. A total of only the last financial year, we have managed to interrupt and the correct asset of 7.8.
Okay.
With all due respect, that doesn't come out of the blue.
So it clearly shows you're working.
Absolutely.
Honorable Wanyonyi, Commissioner Maalim has given us the breakdown. Is that what we see as a nation?
I think maybe that information is not in the public domain.
Okay.
And I believe that there's a lot to be done in this country. I remember when President Kibaki came to power, he came out and, you know, he demonstrated by political goodwill that he is ready to fight corruption. And he made it very clear to his cabinet ministers and senior government officials what needs to be done so that there is an indicator that people are actually living, you know, zero tolerance to corruption.
Yeah.
And we saw what was happening. People surrendered. Those who had acquired things unfairly, they surrendered them back to government. People surrendered title deeds. People did all these other things. But over the change of guard, I think there was shift that people now were not scared of being caught or cutting corners in government and all that. So this thing, it just requires political goodwill. That if the president demonstrates that he's ready not to tolerate corruption at any sector within government, things will start happening. Yes. And we will not even focus on EACC.
Yeah.
We will just be looking what is happening in government, what is happening in procurement, what is happening in schools. You go to want to admit a child in school, you have to pay some money which is not documented.
Yeah.
And we still we pride police on the road, we do all this. These small things are the ones that are culminating into us reaching where the scales where we are reaching. We are rated very badly internationally in terms of corruption.
Yeah, but then, Honorable Wanyonyi, as you say that the president needs to be committed in the fight against corruption, he has he's done enough to show Kenyans that he's actually committed. But there's been a lot of political fights. Yeah. The president makes one step, he's taken back 2 steps. Look at the lifestyle audit that he said is supposed to be done. There's been a lot of political talks, resistance. And of course, the president also saying enough funds have been given to anti-graft bodies, but he cannot even see any investigations being done, proper investigation being done to bring the culprits to book.
You know, as president, I don't need to go with a whip in every office and say, this must be done. You say and you demand results. And that can be done without even the president moving from his desk. If I just call the commissioner here and I want to see what are you doing about this ABC, look at NOS. When you look at the corruption cases that have been brought out, they were brought out when certain officials were in that under their watch. Same officials have been moved to somewhere else. Somebody who walks in is now taking the blame. We must start from the the originator of that corruption, so that we deal with it, so that we don't have anybody in government who is sacred. No sacred cows. If you are mentioned, let alone even being guilty of anything, if you are just adversely mentioned, you should quickly step aside so that you clear a name and then come back. But as the moment you say, you start giving blame and shifting blame and then we are not doing anything good.
Okay, Karl Marx?
I think now you could hear the figure. EACC is giving us a figure annually, a budget, when we talk of 2016-2017, they are talking about a recovery of around 7.7 million. And we are losing money in terms of billions. That is according to the the Transparency International report. And even, internationally, we are actually rated the worst. Now, how do you still want to tell me that your security officer
becomes the one stealing the public resources and still wants to investigate himself or herself. So these are the things that we need to confront. As much as I can really borrow what Mheshimiwa said, there is what we call the political will here. And if you look at the political will, there must be always, a systematic way of bringing this thing to work. And everybody must be involved. And when we try to put this thing like we are targeting people, in any case, when you steal public money, you don't have a name. You must always be treated as somebody who has stolen the money. And when we are facing these things, the independence of these institutions, we must actually differentiate that EACC is an independent body. They need not to work like there is another shadow behind them. They need actually to go direct and actually get the culprits. Let us recover our money, and at the end of the game, Kenyans need to understand, Kenya cannot be a country whereby money is always looted in terms of billions, but when we are recovering them in terms of millions.
But then you see, Karl Marx, that is what Commissioner Maalim is trying to say, and what also Mheshimiwa Nyonyi has said. The fight against corruption, it's not just left to the anti-graft bodies. It's not just left to the Director of Criminal Investigation. It's not just left to the Director of Public Prosecution. It's not just left to the EACC. It means even us as Kenyans, we have failed. Because we'll fight, we'll talk about corruption. Then we, the same Kenyans, will also get involved in corruption.
If you're mandated, Brenda, that you're supposed to be playing given roles, showcase that you're doing, and then people will give you support. The laxity, the institutional laxity within the EACC, this is what we are talking about.
Okay.
Because if you cannot get to probe or maybe investigate a case, and when you tell Kenyans that we are investigating a case that is taking almost 4 years, the money was stolen like for the NIS episode 1. When was that? When did that happen? We lost a lot of money. But now in such cases, the same officials within the EACC cleared people in terms of kickbacks.
Okay, Commissioner Maalim.
Maybe I could respond to my colleague here. He has the right really to say those sentiments. And we know the public really expects a lot from us. And the fact is that really this is not a war for only EACC. It's a cooperative war. And I also want to really to thank the President. For us as EACC, we're very happy. Very happy with the war, the way right now it is taking, the statements from the topmost, so that people be aware this is a fight for everybody. When the President says that if it is my brother, take it, and he should not be spared, that is the goodwill, I think, which Mheshimiwa Nyonyi and others expected. If I may ask, he's asking why is a case taking too long. We have a case that we have taken a governor to court. Before we even do whatever we expected, you are given a ban from the courts. You cannot investigate him, and it takes 1.5 years. The day that is lifted, and you manage to take him to court, you have seen the press statements that we need immunity, sincerely.
So are you trying to say also the judiciary is sort of trying to hinder the fight against corruption?
No. I'm not saying that. I'm just giving him why a court case is delayed. And one of them is that. In fact, if you give me time as with progress, I will tell you what are some of the challenges and what.
Can you kindly tell us the challenges
you're
facing?
Let me give you so that this we can able to do some of the challenges. And I think this is very important for people. First and foremost, which I'm saying is very slow judicial system. And that's why what you call the cases are taken low. We must thank the previous Chief Justice and the current. After a long time of lobbying, we have been given some specific courts that now are hearing the cases at the Supreme Court and the higher courts and the rest. But believe me, that is not enough. The numbers is huge. There are a lot of cases which are pending. Recently, we also managed the lower cases, and few judges have been given that task. The problem is the same judges who are supposed to act and work on the corruption cases are also undertaking other cases. This takes a long time. And when we held recently a meeting with the Chief Justice and other stakeholders at the Nyanyuki, you heard the Chief Justice say that he will really require, and he has made that, let corruption cases take on daily basis. That's how we run, and we clear.
So apart from the judicial system?
Advanced judicial decisions at times. And this is really, courts have, of course, in some instances, they have gone their own way, give some statements that really are not very helpful, denying anticipatory bails, so that you don't investigate and other things. The other thing is weak constitutional, the legal process, and I hope Mheshimiwa and others will take. For instance, we gave, and before even we went there, when the first episode of NYS came, EACC went and documented, and they did a very detailed, what we call investigation, or what we call systems review, specifically identifying what were the loopholes and the gaps that were used by the corrupt to perpetrate what we have seen. And we have given that report, shared. But let me tell you where I'm coming from. Now, EACC does not have the legal authority to enforce. Whoever was in power was given that, nobody took, and the second one comes up.
So at the end of the day, Commissioner Maalim, you're being blamed for a mistake that's not meant, you're not supposed to be blamed for.
I really don't refuse people to blame us, but to the much extent, we are sometimes put too much on issues where we are actually limited by our powers and authority.
Okay.
Just the ones I've given. Okay. Let me give you another one which I also mentioned, the issue of capacity and resources.
We will get there. We'll get there. Just hold on to that thought. Honorable Anyonyi, EACC comes under attack, and especially attack from political leaders. Anytime investigations are being done, hence you hear some members of parliament, some of them, standing on the floor of the House and start, calling for disbandment of the EACC. Others you will see coming out to say our tribe is being targeted. Yet, members of parliament are the same people who are supposed to help the graft antibodies in fighting corruption.
I believe that each one of us must take moral responsibility when it comes to issues that, the Constitution is very clear about values. We have values, and we have, people looking at, a dog, when you say a dog's barking, it's running around scared. There must be something that is scaring that dog. So when you see somebody speaking so loudly and painfully about something, then he's trying to protect something. And I believe that most of us, we are not very, very clean when it comes to matters corruption. And you'll find that the auditor has mentioned and comes out with figures and points out specific areas that have been that loopholes for corruption. And yet we don't follow that lead. He has given the lead, especially in the government, the systems that are being used in government. How can billions of shillings move from a department in government, go to the bank, and get out without Central Bank of Kenya knowing? Central Bank regulates banks. And if there's a certain amount of money is moved, Central Bank is supposed to know. The bank is supposed even to reach out to Central Bank. So we find that the information that EACC, first of all, let me tell you with capacity with the EACC. I don't think they have capacity to deal with corruption in this country. The scale that where we are, we need to have EACC at all the county levels, which I don't think they do. We, at the judiciary, we have sections of courts that deal with corruption. If those cases are investigated properly and presented to court, I'm sure those sections in the judiciary, they will discharge those cases very quickly. But do you know why these people are being freed? Because the short investigation. They arrive there, courts deal with facts, courts deal with evidence. If there's no evidence, you cannot jail anybody. Because even if you have been mentioned in whatever circumstance, if they don't present evidence to court, the judge will discharge you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Karl Marx.
If we talk of, let me also bring the parliament in this. Now, when we talk of the parliament, I think the parliament also needs now to show the independence and the accountability that is actually vested in them, because they're the only mandated body to summon the ombuds, even the
audit officers, even the audit office and also the EACC, so that at least they can also help in one way or another. But if you check so much in terms of what they talk about, the capacity and all that stuff, I think the most worrying trend is even about with their acts. They are not even anchored within the Constitution. So there is a lot of loopholes when it comes to the legal challenges. Then, another thing is about the challenges when it comes to now the investigating officers. Most of them, they are doing a very shoddy job, and I agree with the Mheshimiwa, because you realize that the DPP actually accused the EACC office in terms of the shoddy report, investigative report. So you cannot even take them to court because you know very well that this cannot actually sustain in court. So the watertight investigations will help the EACC actually to get Kenyans what Kenyans want. But if we come to the trend whereby the EACC looks into how to blame other institutions, while there itself, it cannot even prove to Kenyans. The capacity is about the political will you're talking about. It's about the framework within the anti-graft body, whereby we talk of the effective acts. They need to have the effective agency working. They need to have the effective adjudication. Here we talk of the punishment, okay? We have to make sure that all these things are working in a line. But the EACC is now hiding. They are hiding behind some given things called capacity. They are hiding behind some judicial process that are not, it's maybe taking long. That is not the case. Do your case as a watertight case, okay? Put that case there. With the public and also with the other institutions, you will be supported. But because there is always laxity in terms of how we prepare our cases, and we know that there is a way that we've received the kickbacks, we've received the bribes, and so we don't want to come clear to the Kenyans that the money that is lost is not going to be recovered. So it is high time the institutions that we've mandated to do the roles, they need to perform to Kenyans, because it's about service delivery. We cannot subject Kenyans each and every time. Look at, for example, let me give you the inquiries that was done in this country that up to date, they have stood out. The inquiry about the Golden Bag, the inquiry about the Ndungu report. Up to date, there were some facts that were established that people can come out and say that something happened. And that is why I can even actually now, I think we need to come up with a commission again, even for the so-called sugar scandal and all that stuff. We need to come with a commission. Musalia Mudavadi, I think, talk of this thing. And it is high time now, the EACC, the parliament and all that stuff, they need to come out and now support such that inquiry. It will unearth more, because if other bodies that are mandated, even the parliament, I think the capacity and what we call the capacity actually to summon these people and demand for evidence is not there.
Okay.
So we need to make this country believe that the institution that we made to be independent, let us make them be independent. And we support them. I'm not saying that the EACC can work without the support of Kenya.
We need to support
It's
them.
about the entire nation that needs no corruption. Is debilitating us.
Commissioner Maalim, even as you respond to what he's saying, there is accusations that some of your members of EACC, especially the secretariat, are corrupt. It is no longer about, I'm required to appear at the EACC. It is about how much money can I part with so that my case cannot be a watertight case.
Now, I will come to that effect specifically. Let me tell you, the last year, we took 30 cases to court. And we had the cases we took out of 34, 30 of them were convicted, 4 were acquitted. Callbacks, you can calculate 34 out of 30, what percentage it is. The issue about the capacity, if I may go, in 2013, the Minister of Public Service and Department of DPM made an assessment of the required human resource for EACC. And by then, they put the required manpower for that institution, 2,400 staff. By the time we were going there, 2016, January, they had only 300 and something officers. Today, I'm actually grateful to the government and through the budget committee from the parliament, we have at least almost going there, 800 staff. Out of 2,400 identified 5 years ago by a government institution. So when we talk about, we're not forging just, we're not saying for the sake of capacity, and I agree with you. We have opened about 12 offices, but still we need, the Constitution says any service given at the central level must be decentralized or devolved to the lowest level.
So 34 cases taken to court,
yes, 30 convicted, 4 acquitted.
So does it dismiss what my question?
Absolutely.
That there are accusations that some of the EACC secretariats
No. I've not come to that question.
Okay.
I'm answering the issue about we are not doing something.
Okay.
So I'm giving you figures that
Okay.
we are doing something even though you don't see. Come to the issue of the officers. The people who are working at EACC are not from Mars or Jupiter. They're from the public of Kenya.
Okay.
We do annual surveys in this country. One at the national level, others at the county level, and we ask people. You will find there are about 50 people who say that they have encountered or taken part in corruption facilitation. Or they have seen the corruption taking place. And you ask them, how many of you have reported? Not even 5 people will say that I've reported. They don't want, and they even say, if I get next time, I will pay the corruption so they get what I want. That is the people we are dealing with. When we hear about what Mr. Karl Marx is actually capitalizing in the press and the rest, I think the most important, and we always say, we look every piece of information, whether it is corridors of power, whether it's in a gutter press, every piece of information is information to us.
Okay.
And when we hear our internal system, and I believe me, this commission has sucked very senior people, because of some of the issues which have been reported by
So as we speak now, Commissioner Maalim, the entire commission, the secretariat officials, from the junior to the highest authority member at EACC, they're clean.
No. I'm not telling you that. I'm not telling you that. You have seen what Mr. Karl Marx is put in place is an officer who has been sacked and has appealed to a court of law. And he has given allegations against senior government officers. The proof is for him to prove at the court of law.
Okay.
And he cannot really capitalize on that, and that's not the image of EACC. And I think we should be very objective.
Let's handle this properly. Just before you respond, Karl Marx, what do you have to say about it, Honorable Wanyonyi? That some EACC officials, and especially the secretariat, are corrupt. And owing to I really don't want us to dwell on this fact about the CEO of EACC. It's a case in court. He's among the people who've been accused of corruption.
You see, the secretariat of EACC, their work is supposed to support the commission to perform. But we have seen some of the members of the secretariat, they come out as if they're the commissioners who are supposed to deal with issues in the public domain. They're the ones who are going to articulate issues. They are called, when they call them parliament, they're the ones coming instead of the commissioners coming to tell us. You know, like the way IEBC operates. So that the secretariat are supposed to be people who are now doing the background work and giving information to the commission so that the commission can articulate issues of the EACC. But that is not, you see, the moment you start, you know, in corruption and in politics, just perception. Perception is everything. Once people start pointing fingers in your direction, then, you know, you don't have to start exonerating yourself. You must step aside. You must quickly leave because you are given the highest level to fight corruption. And the other thing is that when we are looking at corruption cases, let's look at other best practices elsewhere in the world. How do they do it? Are we doing the right thing? Are we really following, trying to articulate corruption in the right way? You know, the moment the process is flawed, then something is wrong. Definitely we must start from that point. But the moment we cover it and then we start looking for other issues, then we are doing the right. The other thing is that when we focus on things like going to chase the big fish, small fish, and all that, we must fight corruption all around, small, big, all of them, so that we deal with issues. The root cause of the corruption is not just up there. It is rotten down here. The roots are completely, and they're very complicated. They're very, very serious down there. So until you cut these roots, the tree will still continue being watered and grow and become bigger, and corruption will be eating us, our fabric.
Okay. Karl Marx, you wanted to say something?
Let me just put this note to the commission. I mean, the Auditor General gave a report that the 47 counties,
misappropriated the funds. Now, that alone gives us 47 cases that could have been with the EACC. Now, the question is, if he's only talking about within a year, they are only talking about 34, and 30 has been convicted. The question is, even the 47 counties, in terms of the auditor's report, where are they? So there's a miscommunication here. And my worry, sometimes I always ask, the Auditor General has done his work, has also given out the report. Why do we not always summon the auditor to be one of the witnesses in court? Because already there is a loophole and there is already evidence over the report that is given with the Auditor General. So the question is, why don't you always work with the Auditor General's office in tandem, so that there is always a clear way of getting all this evidence? Because if we don't support these institutions, how do we want to get the truth? Because one thing I've always asked myself, already there is questionable remarks in terms of, or maybe report, in terms of funds. And the Auditor General has given this report. When we now go to court, you will see there is nowhere that the Auditor General is mentioned. And we've lost money. They've also given us the report that the money has been lost. And again, why don't we now devolve the Auditors General offices within the counties? Why don't we also devolve the EACC offices within the counties? So that if we really mean well, that our words can match our deeds, our words can match our actions, then I can tell you we will actually get to a certain level.
Okay.
First and foremost, one of the reports that we work is what the Auditor General gives. And that's why we go for these county governments. And when we get is the time you hear all this politics. I want to go back to what Mheshimiwa said with all due respect. And this is very important. Thank you very much for bringing out the definition of the word corruption. What is big fish? What is small fish? And I think I cannot put it any better than what Mheshimiwa have said. But take it for instance. Many people in Kenya say, oh, yes, he is good in taking 50, taking to policeman who has taken 50 Kenya shillings, or 100 shillings or 1,000 at the immigration. Let me give you. You have taken 1,000 Kenya shillings and given an immigration officer an alien and give him Kenyan documents. And the next time he comes and blow you off. Is that 50, 1,000 shillings you give small when you take the lives of what has happened, Western Gate or what happened? Is that small? It's not. You take 50 shillings on the road and they live and roadworthy and overcrowded vehicle, and a few kilometers it turns, and you kill 50 Kenyans. Is that a small number? That's not. The actual definition is what Mheshimiwa said. Corruption is corruption, whether small or not. The other issue which I wanted to mention about what my colleague said, I have figures here per county. Those are the cases concluded, which I have said.
Can you kindly give us the figures?
Yes, that's for instance. In Nairobi, we have 174 cases pending, worth almost 3.4 billion shillings. Machakos, 18 cases. Mombasa, 70 cases. Eldoret, 40 cases. Malindi, 5 cases. Kisii, 21 cases. Isiolo, 2 cases. Nyeri, 2 cases. And the others, so many. All the counties.
All these cases pending?
Yes, of course, I've measured these are process. It is a legal process, they must be heard.
It goes back to what you had said.
Yes, they must be heard, and that's why I said, with all due respect, we are grateful to the judiciary by creating specific courts now to hear the court cases faster, because it's not so good for the suspect. For all the years. By the way, the Golden Bug was something gone, and it's the EACC that has actually revived it in the last few years. And we're almost at a very advanced state of what we're happening. I think the most important thing is, Karl Marx is saying what we are crying for. Let's give resources, and let's be, EACC is not alone, it's everybody.
Commissioner, pending cases are almost 2,000 according to just what you've read. And you're telling us that you've convicted 30. Seriousness, we need to be very realistic.
Okay, Karl Marx, let's just hold that thought first. And in a minute, as you respond to my question, then I need Honorable Wanyonyi also to respond, because this touches about the clearance of some members of parliament who have corruption cases, and they were cleared by the EACC. Because when we're heading to the 2017 August election, EACC was working very closely with the IEBC in terms of clearing candidates, candidates who wanted to vie for various seats. And there's some candidates who had questionable graft cases, and yet we saw EACC clear them.
Let me give you, EACC doesn't clear. We submit the report to requesting institution to utilize. EACC actually, and if you've seen our report, we received over 16,000 people who are vying for various positions in the country, and we vetted. And there are about, I think, 100 or 180, between 84 and 100 cases where we had some concerns, and we alerted EACC, IEBC, and told them these are the issues that we have, so and so. And in fact, if you look at the press, by that time, even the cases, or some of them were put in the newspapers. So once we submit, it's now the IEBC people.
So in short, Commissioner Maalim, what you're telling Kenyans today is that EACC gave IEBC a list of some candidates who ought not to be cleared.
Correct. We have said we have given candidates where we had concerns because of the records and what we have. For instance, if I say Karl Marx has applied for some, God forbid, and he is having, in our record, he shows that he has stolen something, we say there's a case pending reported with us, with Mr. About Karl Marx, and it is in progress, and that is where it is now, the EACC and the IBC to do that.
You see, at that level, when we are going to election, thousands and thousands of Kenyans who present themselves for election, and then they are supposed to be cleared by EACC and various other agencies, including the help, many agencies of government, including Credit Bureau. So when you go there, actually, I'm one of the people who are running, and you go there, the only thing is that you make your personal declaration.
So you only make your personal declaration? You
make your personal declaration. So whether you are declaring, it's based on you. Because if I say I don't owe any money anywhere, and then you call the Credit Bureau, you're caught. The Credit Bureau have tossed on you, then something happens. Then the final person to clear that is IEBC. IEBC is supposed now to refer those documents given by these agencies to look whether you qualify to run for an election or not.
Okay, so are you saying that the clearance by EACC when it comes to clearance of political candidates was done in a shoddy way? Because it was just a matter of declaring your wealth. And
actually, the law says you make a personal declaration. You swear something, an affidavit. And go and submit it at EACC. So it's upon them now to look whether what you have declared is correct or not. But if they don't find anything, then they just write a letter to IEBC. They say you don't have any cases pending against you, no investigation is being done against you, then the IEBC will clear you. But later on, that does not mean that it stops there. You know, you can be caught even after you have been elected. That actually you made a false declaration. You did something that did not actually measure to the integrity of the office that you are holding. Yes.
We are trying to be economical with our truth, because truth needs to be served unadulterated and raw. Now, before you get to the EACC, there are so many forms that actually you fill, and then you will be issued with a certificate of clearance that the EACC have cleared you.
Well, you issued that certificate,
that is when you move.
You know, those things are not given to us. They're given to IEBC. Because once I've made my personal declaration, then they are supposed to write to IEBC about me. So IEBC, once they get that, when I go there for me to be cleared, my party has referred me there as the candidate from the party. When I go there, IEBC check my records. If there's nothing about for them to stop clearing, they clear.
So EACC don't give certificates?
Yes, you see, I think correctly,
in a minute as he finishes his statement.
The point is, the forms which you give, which are online, you declare, that is an entry point. Many people think, and that's why you actually must swear in a commissioner's place, commissioner of oaths, that what you are saying is the truth. Once we get that, we now go into our database. Do you have any report with us? That's what we do.
Now, the EACC, you can even hear the way he's really struggling to put that statement very clear. Once you've actually given us your details and you have questionable reports, or maybe we have some questions with you, we cannot submit your name to the IEBC. So how did the names of the people who are involved in the NYS, people who are involved in embezzling funds from counties, people who are involved in these scandals, ended up actually to contest with even fake certificates to contest for all this?
Karl Marx, let me just be the devil's advocate here. You've heard Commissioner Maalim saying they did their part. They gave IEBC a list, like these are the people we are not comfortable with in
Over
terms
80
of
people.
over 80 people who should not run for political seat. Then it means the blame goes back to the electoral body.
The same statement, same way. We leave contraband products to get in the country, then we start following them. Why don't we stop this, this certificate to go to the IEBC before we talk of there is a report over it? What we need to say is that the names that we've actually not submitted to you, these names we have a case with them. But you cannot submit them and then you tell us that the IEBC does not have the mandate to investigate. They don't have the powers to prosecute. So how will they even stop them? Immediately they reach there, by the way, understand that you are a client to IEBC. Immediately you get there, that is cash cow. You will get there and they continue with you.
Okay. Commissioner Maalim.
Yes, please.
You look like you want to respond to Karl Marx's...
I'm sorry, I was somehow amused.
You look like you want to give a comment on Karl Marx's statement. And as you do that, is EACC being used to settle political wars by politicians, as alleged by the Council of Governors?
No. EACC is very objective, and we sincerely and very honestly, because that's an institution that is expected to uphold ethics and integrity. We really take the personal, the image of our citizens very highly. And that's why when I say that our officers spend hours really to confirm what we did. And by the way, I forgot that. The DPP is actually the meter to change. He's the one who should advise. Yeah, I think we have a case here, but I think you need to do one or two things. And that's really what is expected. That's why the law has been given to that. And it's not something actually demeaning EACC. It's an advisory, and that's the Constitution has put that place. And for the EACC, by the way, the Constitution, you can go back to Article 15 of the Commissions and also 79 to see where the EACC is. But the point is, we don't settle. People always say that. Even if you give information, you come. We have really to look at it, because maybe somebody is coming something against you and you are a political rival. We have to verify that. And that's why we have to take pains really to ensure what you are giving is correct. One thing which I wanted to mention is we have a lot of people in court, who really actually have made badges and activities for EACC, and they con people. Can you believe it? I think you have seen the social media recently. Somebody used my name, Dr. Maalim, if you see it, and he was actually taken to court, asking that we were soliciting from whatever.
Okay.
So we have these people who really, and he's a common citizen. This person with a badge from EACC and whatever, he's an EACC officer.
Okay. Honorable Wanyonyi, are politicians using these anti-graft bodies to settle their political wars?
It could be politician, it could be anybody, because if we don't have a process, the proper process of dealing with issues, and if you don't have facts, if you don't have evidence, and because you don't like me because I'm your rival, or I'm your political nemesis, then you just go and throw my name and say, Honorable Wanyonyi has done APCT. This is the area where we need to be very careful, because we don't want character assassination. Correct. We don't want to point, or we go to, fighting bare knuckles, and because we need to deal with issues. When you have been named in corruption, we need to present the case. We need to present facts. We need to present evidence that so ABCD has been done. Sometimes maybe the auditor has raised a query, and then the person who is concerned about that brings out the documentation to show that actually the process was followed properly. Then he will be cleared. But when that information gets into the public domain, or it gets to somebody who has that kind of information, they will run with it and they will start accusing you of all manner of things. So sometimes we need also to deal with issues completely. And when somebody has been cleared, it also should be made very clear that that information we have got and it has already been explained. We know what happened. But when we don't do that, you'll find that you don't like so-and-so, we must be removed. This governor is a political correct. He should remain in the office. And the other one who is not politically correct
should be out of office.
Should be out of office.
Commissioner Maalim, I'm seeing you nodding on that. I shall be getting your statement on that, your sentiment on that later on. And just to bring in, as we are almost coming to the close end of this discussion, and just to bring in the lifestyle audit that the president mentioned. and there's been a lot of resistance in that. Do you think EACC should be brought in when it comes to the lifestyle audit? Karl Marx.
I think yes, because when we talk of asset recovery, they are mandated actually to do that. So maybe we get to the parliament, then they come up with a laws that can now get to what we call the lifestyle audit. We forget about this thing called vetting. You know, sometimes we confuse between the vetting and lifestyle audit. So I think if that can be done, and then we give them the genuine, I'm talking about genuine support, that will motivate the entire process in terms of the reforms within the institution for the success. So if that can be done, I think we will go heights. Basically, the lifestyle audit, many people will fear it. But the truth is, we cannot be talking of a country whereby you own nothing 5 years ago. But today you are a billionaire. And then you are telling Kenyans that there are some businesses that can give profits in terms of billions within a span of months. I don't think that is the best way, or maybe the right way for Kenyans.
Okay.
Yes, I agree, actually. And I don't see why people should really resist lifestyle audit. If you have been declaring your wealth every other 2 years, and you have that record, and I think the importance, one of the things that actually we have been mentioning, and we request the parliament also, is we must make use of those declarations, so that at least it should not be in an envelope there. You have seen the speaker giving to us that document. It takes that pain, really. And sometimes you even have people barring you to get access to that. I think we shouldn't actually fear a lifestyle audit. As EACC, we have already contributed in the process of what is happening, and I think people shouldn't worry about it. It is very honest, and what Karl Marx says is quite true. Sincerely, the last few years you have almost zero or very meager resources, and all of a sudden you have turned a tycoon and whatever. It's only honest, really, to say God can bless anybody, but please prove, so that Kenyans can say, yes, he has really worked hard and this is what he got. And I shouldn't fear. And it should not be politicized.
And
it is the best
should EACC be called upon to investigate?
By the way, we already use it. Some of these things. We use those resources. It's a forensic investigation aspect. It's part of the things which is supposed to help us get the issue. And we use, and I don't think that's any problem. It's one of our work, because how else can I prove? If you have given, once you get your declaration, you had this. You are either hiding what you are saying today, I have it, and you did not declare it adequately, or you must declare how you got it. This is the point.
Okay.
All I'm saying is, please prove to us what you have is honestly yours.
Okay, Honorable Wanyonyi, there's been a lot of resistance, especially from some members of parliament and senators. Are you ready to undergo the lifestyle audit?
Yes, the question of lifestyle audit needs also to have a legal framework. How do we do it? Do we have the formula? For example, if you ask me to declare my wealth, there's a form which comes from, I think, EACC, that we are given even in Parliament. Every year you declare what you really have, what you own, including investment in various ways. But this thing needs a legal framework, that this thing is done in this particular way, in a particular manner. Because mine, if what I own is my grown-up children, my parents, that's not mine. What is on me, And, when it comes to corruption, people are very clever. When you become hard, they become clever. And they can own property in boxes. The property that you can never put their name on it. And you find this property belongs to them, but legally it is owned by somebody else.
Okay.
So when we are doing with the lifestyle audit, let us come up with a proper legal framework
on how to do it.
On how to do it, so that we do it in a more structured way. That we don't just deal with issues, then issues arise, people challenge these things in court, and the courts will uphold that.
We have 3 minutes. So this 3 minutes, I'd like 3 minutes for us to wind up. This 3 minutes, I want to divide it into 1 minute each. Your parting shot.
Kenyans, you must now know that when it comes to scandals, you are alone. There is nobody who is fighting for you, not the agencies, not even the members of parliament. It is high time you stand out and fight for this institution to work, and also for your life to be better.
Okay. Commissioner Maalim.
Thank you. For this minute, I would like to use, first of all, to come back to what I mentioned. This is today is African Anti-Corruption Day, and 2018 is the African Anti-Corruption Year. And if you look at the objectives of that, what do you call them, slogan, is really minimizing the impact of the poor. Corruption hits hardest to the poor people and the lower people. Those are the people whose resources are taken. We would like to ask Kenyans to partner with us and don't live fighting corruption as an EACC alone. It will hurt you. If this sugar you have seen, every one of us will take that sugar. Let's put our efforts together. We don't actually refuse criticisms. We will be very, very happy to receive. And we have an anonymous way of giving us information.
Okay.
We would like everybody, and we want to thank very much the media. You have really taken part, and we sincerely would like to request you to continue that. Thank you so much.
In a second, as I bring Wanyonyi as we wind up, are you ready to do a thorough probe and bring the culprits to book when it comes to the contraband sugar? Should the case fall on your doorstep?
Why not?
Okay.
Why not?
Okay.
When it's brought, we will take our responsibility.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Wanyonyi, as we wind up.
I think when we want to fight corruption, let us look back at our values, as the Constitution is very clear on that, at values. If people with questionable character are appointed in public domain, if I am doing something wrong and I'm still being given another position, then that is where we are doing things. We must always examine, self-examination. In a Catholic Church, we say examination of self-conscience. Look at yourself, what have you done? And then come out. We have seen when people come for vetting in Parliament, have been appointed by government, there's a dossier on you. And when you're given that file, you can quickly either quit at that level or continue with it so that you can clear yourself.
Okay.
But if you feel that you have skeleton in your background, please just keep off.
Just keep off.
Yes.
It is the end of this conversation. It's a conversation that cannot end. Karl Marx, a residential analyst, Dr. Dabar Maalim, Commissioner, EACC, and Honorable Wanyonyi, Member of Parliament for Westlands. This conversation cannot end, but we really thank you, gentlemen, for joining us this morning when we're talking about corruption. The conversation continues on our online platform at Zeta Brenda, at Sami1 Juroge, at KBC Channel 1, at Twitter, our SMS line 22162. Let's continue having the conversation on those different platforms. My name is Brenda Zederadido. Thank you so much for watching. We do this again tomorrow, but I need to pave way for my colleague Samuel Njoroge, who's up next with Lifestyle. And this morning he shall be talking about contemporary fashion. If you want to know all about that, that is a discussion you don't want to miss after the short break. Thank you so much for watching, and of course for the entire morning production team that makes this production a success.